right, let's get the show on the road. All right, so this is another episode of Audible Mentions. I'm your host, Trey, with my co-host, Kia Savage. I do want to introduce y'all to, I guess, one of the new people we met since we moved to Atlanta. Especially Kiana. It's really,
New people. It's been like 4 or 5 years.
Hey, but this pod been like, but I do want to introduce y'all to Marley, if you want me to. Is that fun?
Cheers.
Wait,
Woo!
hold
We
on,
gotta
hold
do
on.
the
We
cheers.
gotta do it. I'm terrible. I forgot how to do that. I do want to say this as I'm looking for this since it's been a while. I can't even find it. Oh, that's terrible. I can't even find it. Oh, here we go. I do want to say that Key will be really taking the initiative of this episode, because last second I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a part of this, because I think this topic, this is very important to everyone, all communities, especially the Black community. So I wouldn't want to miss
Yeah,
out on that.
it was supposed to be a girls thing, but he wanted an invitation.
Okay, hold on. How about I do it?
Hey! It goes for so long.
It goes for so long. It does.
It's like 20 seconds of my life. So we got it here. We got Marley mentoring mammals, because that's the M's that we could think of.
Marley mentoring mammals. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I like
Please
that.
introduce yourself.
Well, thank you all for having me today. My name is Marleen Salters. I go by Marley. Just whatever you like. I am a current graduate student at Mercer University studying in clinical mental health counseling. And this upcoming week is my final week of grad school. I'm so excited. It's been a process, but here we are. I've been interning at a private practice for the last year called Tamika and Company Therapy LLC. I'm also on her website, tamikalpc.com, and we specialize in trauma, anxiety, depression, self-esteem, self-awareness. Our theoretical orientation is cognitive behavioral therapy, and I see individual clients and do a few groups. I've had a self-care group segment where women just come together and we just discuss self-care and the barriers and why is it so hard sometimes to take care of ourselves. And also I've been speaking on different orgs, and I'm on a podcast. And my mental health page that I have for like any updates or future events that I have is called Mental by Marley on Instagram. And other platforms that I am on is Therapy for Black Girls. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Ooh, I love to see it. Honestly. That's one of those things where I feel like growing up, we needed those mentors in our life to tell us about mental health and even developing a higher emotional intelligence. Because I know personally, I didn't understand, or I wasn't told about emotional intelligence. I was only told about the intelligence part of it, IQ and not EQ. So now to grow up and to speak with doctors who are knowledgeable about the way humans adapt and connect with each other, and then how I can learn to grow as a person as well, especially when dealing with anxiety, depression, anxiousness, nervousness. So I really appreciate you being on the podcast. If I haven't said it already, of course, we love having you around. You're such a great spirit. You have such great energy. So yeah, we can definitely go ahead and get into the first part. And obviously, we actually went to church today and they did bring up talking about the holiday season and how a lot of people around this time are actually lonely.
Yeah. You want me
And
to
I
say?
know coming
Oh,
with
go ahead.
that, people do have, just going into the seasonal depression aspect of it, and then how we can actually bring people together more often, even when they feel like they want to be disconnected or distant from their relatives, friends, or just like members of their community.
Was that open ended or was that
Yeah, it's open ended. I mean,
Okay.
whoever wants to take the floor.
okay?
Well,
You
I guess
you go
I'll go
ahead,
ahead
Marley.
and.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's get into it. First, what is seasonal or holiday depression? What is that? This is a type of depression that's related to changes in the seasons, and it begins and ends about around the same time each year. And like you said, growing up, for me personally, we didn't talk about depression. We didn't really go over mental health. That kind of wasn't the thing that was brought up at the dinner table. We focused on like prayer, and coming from a like religious background, it was prayer and like go to church, which I do think is still very helpful, but also educating yourself and informing yourself about other ways to cope. But getting back to the seasonal and holiday depression, just some symptoms are losing interest in activities that you once enjoyed, or you may be experiencing low energy and feeling sluggish, having problems with sleeping too much, feeling sad or down most of the day or nearly every day, difficulty concentrating, feeling hopelessness, worthlessness, or guilty, having thoughts of not even wanting to live sometimes. And these symptoms are similar to depression or bipolar depression or um, I can't think of the word, major depressive disorder. Some of these disorders have around the same symptoms, but yeah, some people may be experiencing that, or that's what it would look like if you may think you're having seasonal or holiday depression.
So, with you saying sometimes symptoms can look similar to other diagnoses, do you
hmm
feel like people stray away from seeking help because they don't want to be diagnosed?
hmm Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, they're within the diagnosing realm. It's so many different diagnoses, and you know, you can be misdiagnosed, or it's so many different things. And I think when people hear diagnose, or sometimes even when they hear the word therapy, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm crazy, or oh my, or you have all these different speculations or stereotypes, and just even coming from like how you were raised. And I think when people hear the word diagnosis, they think, oh my gosh, I have a problem, instead of more of a, I wouldn't even necessarily look at it as a problem, but it's just an area that I'm struggling in, if that makes sense, or an area that I need to pay close attention to. And even being an intern at a private practice, a lot of time I tell my clients, like, let's not focus so much on the diagnosis, but okay, you may meet some of the criteria for some of the diagnosis, but how are we able to navigate through it, if that makes sense? Or how are we able to cope with it? Or when you're feeling this way, what are we able to do? Or what are some things that we can come up with for you to use when you're dealing with those symptoms? So yes, I think people kind of like get scared when they hear diagnose or disorder.
Mm.
Yes, I definitely appreciate that insight. There's an example I would love to bring up, just to go on a slight tangent, for someone, let's say, who has dyslexia, which, people can kind of see that they have it compared to a mental disorder or diagnosis. People might not be able to necessarily see it. And when it comes to something like dyslexia, you would have to just find ways to navigate around how other people or how the masses normally cope with certain things. Compared to you have to find, ways to just get audiobooks or read more chapter books, and then you slowly progress into it. And it may not be something that it entirely dissolves. That's something you would still have and you would still struggle
hmm
with, but it's not something where you want to focus on the issue at hand. You just want to focus on ways that build you up and help you progress. So I definitely appreciate that.
hmm
Yeah, it's a lot of a
And I
lot of
guess the
insight. Um, I do want to. How can I start off with this? Like I'm not gonna say nobody in particular, but I have dealt and witnessed people with well a person with well I guess started off in bipolar, then it kind of um
develop.
developed and it just got worse. and things like that. So I guess, and not having enough like support, and what I mean by that, like me coming from a huge family, at least with one side of my family, but not having the tools to being able to, let's say, like, I guess they feel like in my side of the family, I was just talking with my sister about this, not believing or that in denial of something being wrong with that certain person. So
Mhm.
I guess the question to you is, what are ways, or what do you say, what are ways you go about things like that, that with the in denial? I know you can't force people to do anything, you can do but so much, but what are some things you do, or at least like to say, that will have
Suggest, yeah.
suggest and have people be like, okay, and I don't want to say like you persuading or swaying people, but yeah,
Mhm.
what are some ways you, I
When
guess,
someone's diagnosed, how can the family members accept it and
yeah,
be willing to be there? Yeah.
Mhm.
if there are any ways, if there are any.
Mhm.
Um,
I think that's a good question. I think sometimes we may lack knowledge on certain areas or topics, and I think if the person is already diagnosed and you're unsure about the symptoms or what that looks like in a person, educating yourself on it, or if the person you suspect may have some type of disorder or presenting issue, maybe just having a casual conversation of what do you think about this, or you all looking over it together, in a sense. I know I was having a conversation with someone and they were thinking like, oh, I think I might have this. So we kind of took the time to, look at different videos or educate ourselves. Of course, we're not self-diagnosing, but, just having more knowledge. And then also even sometimes going to your healthcare provider and asking those questions, or just out of curiosity, it doesn't hurt to ask if you suspect a problem, but I think a good way in supporting that loved one or someone that you suggest is kind of educating them. I'm not sure if there's really a great way. There's different things that may help people, but I think being an active listener, um, not making them feel like they have an issue or making them feel different than everyone. I wouldn't say like acting normal, but treating them with care, if that makes sense.
yes,
And then
yeah,
also even being transparent. What is it that you need from me that would be helpful? Or what is it that you think would be helpful? Those type of questions too.
okay,
So I guess with going along with, acknowledging that you might need a diagnosis or that something does feel a little off, how would you say is the best way, or one of the best ways, or multiple ways that someone can find ways to cope? Or, why is it always so hard for us to seek help when we do notice certain
Mm-hmm.
changes?
Mm-hmm. That's good. I think sometimes people, it's the fear of reality,
mm,
um,
that's a good one.
Jeez.
understanding like I might have a problem and I don't want to get help. It's even when going to the doctor and you suspect something is wrong with you, or you notice a pain and it's like, oh my gosh, what if I have cancer, or what if it's this? It's like the unknown in the
Mm-hmm.
room, or the unknown in your mind. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I know it's something. I was earlier, before we had all logged on, I was looking at different coping mechanisms and things that people could do relating towards like seasonal depression. And I was what I found, they suggested sitting in front of a light or receiving as much access to like light as possible, or sunlight. That's supposed to help. I was reading that a doctor had requested that, or once I said previous, seeking a healthcare provider, or even discussing it with someone that you trust, whether that could be a therapist, a loved one, a friend. And also, I have read prioritizing your social activities, because during this time, like I think you said earlier, Kiana, you know, being by yourself, like a person wants to be by themselves and alone, and those are the most crucial times I feel, because that's the time when you're by yourself and you're kind of coping by yourself when you don't have to, you know,
Yeah.
and you can be around loved ones or friends or whoever, and then even journaling down your feelings. A lot of time, I think people have these I don't know, different perspectives about journaling. And to me, no, it's not a diary. It's just, this is what I'm feeling today. I don't really understand what's going on, but I'm a write about it. So
Right.
using different things like that, yeah.
I definitely hear that, especially when it comes to being in a brighter atmosphere.
Mhm.
Because I know in college I actually was struggling momentarily, and obviously it was hard for me to express that to my friends because college is supposed to be like the best time of our lives. But
Mhm.
there will be times where I would literally just have the lights off, no sunlight coming through under my covers, and I'm just like, I just want to be in complete darkness and away from the rest of the world and not worry about assignments. And I had this professor, he would kind of tease us, but obviously he's a different generation where we
Mhm.
had counseling on campus. And it was a free resource, tuition paid for it. But he would say, as college students, um, I just find it funny that you guys have to go to counseling and all you have to do is go to school. And that's not always the reality for people. I have a
Mhm.
mentor at my current job, and I was talking to her, letting her know like I would have loved to have internships, but I didn't have financial support to stay 6 hours away and have a summer apartment or have a car to commute or even travel to different cities and states for an internship. And then I would have to go home and work. And whatever money I saved up when I worked is money I had to use for school. And I felt bad to call my parents to ask them for money. So I felt as though I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. And then it was easier to isolate myself because I felt like I was going through all of these things alone.
Mhm.
Let me
Yeah,
see.
that was actually the first time I went to a counselor. Honestly, I just cried. I just sat there and I just cried. She's
Mhm.
just like, you don't have to put all that pressure on yourself because no one's asking you to do that. If you don't want to talk to someone that day, that's fine. But definitely, give them a call back when you are in a headspace to connect with the people around you because at the end of the day, they want your best interests.
Mhm. Do you feel like that was helpful, going to counseling?
Most definitely. I will say at that moment, I was relieved because I didn't graduate on time. I didn't graduate after 4 years, 5 years. I didn't graduate on time. So that was one of those things where we grew up, college was the only option. A gap year wasn't a thing. So to hear, a stranger tell me it's okay and I need to relax, it was relieving. And it also helped me to come to the terms that I can seek help again later in life.
Mhm. Yeah, most definitely. I think um, just piggybacking off of you for college, I had experienced this is, I don't know, it's not funny to say, but never really fully understood depression until it was happening to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I guess this is what it feels like. Similar to what you're saying, not wanting to go anywhere. And this was my senior year of college. So, you would expect like,
Girl, yes.
you
I
you would
don't know what it
expect like,
is.
I don't know if it's senioritis or what, but you would expect this would be like the time where you're the most excited, you're ready to take on the world. This is your last year of college, and it was not. It was probably one of my worst years of college, and I just remember some days I would dress in all black or baggy clothes, or I was barely going to practice, and if I was going to practice, I was sluggish or dragging. Sometimes I couldn't even get out of bed to make it to class. And it wasn't until maybe grad school, the beginning of grad school, that they said, you know, you all are going to be counselors and y'all are in the making of becoming a counselor. It's okay for a therapist to have their own therapist. And I was like, okay. And ever since then, that stuck with me. And I realized, I was like, okay, let me try it out. And at first, my first experience, I was like, this lady doesn't understand me. She doesn't even know what I'm talking about. She doesn't understand like my lingo or my life. But I was like, no, just stay consistent and teach her. She doesn't know, so let her know. Open up to her so she can try to gain some type of insight or understanding of your life and your lifestyle and the things you do and different that. And I ended up staying with her throughout my grad school. Of course, she went to another profession, but even though I know she was my therapist, but that was my girl. Like we had a really good therapeutic relationship. Like I really appreciate her. She got me through a lot. So I think what is the hardest part is taking that initiative to go, because my parents were like, Marlene, you need to go. You need to go, because senior year really was rough, and they were like, you need to go, and I was like, I'll think about it. I kept pushing it aside, but it wasn't until my professor said a therapist needs a therapist too. So I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna try it out.
I definitely want to applaud you as well for sticking with a health professional who didn't necessarily know, your lingual, or you felt like
Hmm.
there was a disconnect. Because I know me personally, I am all about representation because that's what I grew up on. My mom would drive 20 minutes to go get some breakfast from a black owned business instead of us
Hmm.
walking down the street. So I know for me, as a recently someone who is a black woman of, I would say my sister's generation, because I don't want them to be too far gone, but just to have comfort when it does come to conversations and bringing up social media, and they know what TikTok is,
Hmm.
because it's easy to say like, oh girl, you know how TikTok is, they saying everybody has like ADHD, and that's how I feel. And she's like, girl, like,
Hmm.
it's fun to like be on social media, but don't get too indulged, obviously, compared to talking to someone else and they're like, what's TikTok? And then it's like you have to explain it and then go into it.
Hmm.
So I definitely want to applaud you, especially like when you're not the most comfortable. I always tell my friends, well, try to get someone that looks like you first and
Yeah.
then see where that goes.
Yeah, that that alone right there, that takes a lot of guts for me. Well, to me, because I'm not gonna lie, and I'm being serious. In reality, it was already a struggle for me to do the therapy thing, and I did it in the course of the summer, over the summer, I believe. And I'm not gonna lie, if I saw a list of options and I see one person that looks like me, like relatively, I probably been like, okay, I'm gonna try another time or
Hmm.
another year or something like that. So that takes a lot. I do have a question I want to ask um, both of y'all young ladies. Um, what? Because I know we all been through some, sort of depression or just depression. And my question is, what things do y'all do that you find therapeutic? And I guess we could start with the host. Um,
Oh, me? Oh, goodness. You gotta put me on the spot.
oh, y'all killing it. I'm just sitting. I'm just learning. I'm just sitting back, man. Y'all doing great.
Well, I know that me personally, I am a YouTube watcher, so I would get into the habit of watching other YouTube channels where people clean their house or like do like weekly cleanings, and then as they clean and have like music on, I would light a candle and I would clean with them. Just because, sometimes you just want background noise, and being on the phone isn't always the best for me when it comes to multitasking, because I get into the conversation or I don't want to make a lot of noise. If I'm vacuuming, I got to worry about having
Hmm.
my phone in my pocket. So that's something I always like to begin with, is just throwing on a YouTube video of somebody else cleaning their house. And then sometimes I'll look for houses or apartments that are nicer, because it's like, obviously they didn't always come from that. and to hear other people's stories, just like you can get through this and all this other stuff. And in a realm where a lot of people are social media rich, obviously there can be a disconnect when it comes to reality and social media. So I just know that personally, even though I'm watching these people who physically or tangibly have more things than me, I also understand that everyone has to start from somewhere. So that's one thing I like to do. And then from there, honestly, it's like learning or taking my time with doing other tasks, like with my hair. So I cut my hair in 2020. I was one of those people. And as my hair grew out, I learned that, regardless of how short or long it is, I still have a connection with my hair, and just taking more time on my hair. Same thing with like when I do my makeup or, my shower routine, buying more scrubs and like different scents to try out. So I try to make everything kind of like an experience. I want to feel like, when you go into one of those designer stores and people are just like at your service hand and feet, I want to do that for myself because I used to work in customer service. So that's how I wanted people to feel when they came into my store, and that's how I want to feel for myself too.
That's good. I like that. That sounds
And
to
she forgot
me.
me. She forgot me. Yeah.
I
She forgot to
mean,
add that in.
yeah, the foot rubs.
I'm playing. I'm playing.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds like self-care. This, for me, to answer your question, Trey, this sounds a little, I don't know, but for me, I like peace and quiet. I never
I feel
understood.
you.
I never understood. And the crazy thing is, I don't even have kids, but I didn't understand like how I don't know what the word is, rewarding, or it's a
Mhm.
privilege to have peace and
Refreshing.
quiet. Yes,
Yeah.
refreshing. Because where I am, I'm talking, being in the profession that I'm in, and then also, other jobs that require me to talk and process feelings with the children. I work with kids. So I am always talking. I am always wiping a kid's tear, processing with clients. We're in deep, heavy stuff like sometimes. So the moment I can sit down and just unwind from the day or just have a moment to myself, I'm choosing silence. Even if I'm on the way somewhere, I'm choosing silence.
Same.
Wait. Oh
Like
no.
I and
Wait,
Oh
wait,
no.
wait.
Let me
Okay,
stop you.
okay.
I gotta stop
oh
you.
yeah, let's hear the truth, Trey. Let's hear the
Oh
truth.
Lord, he gonna call me out again.
So y'all two is telling me
Okay. Okay, hold on, hold
y'all.
on.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So when you're driving in the car, do you listen to music?
Me?
Or
Yes.
anything at all.
I do, but on those days where I feel like I don't want to listen to music, like I just want silence, I would drive, rather it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I would drive in silence.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
And I don't want to use the word I was saying because this is not the episode to do it. This is the last episode. You know that word I be saying about you. It's not nothing
Yes.
derogatory, but it's just not appropriate for this episode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How? Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. He was
Cause
like,
Yeah,
I'm here. Oh
Keanu, how do
wow.
you drive in silence? And I'm just like, I just like silence. I
yeah,
don't
you
need
get used
music.
to it. It's such a refreshing, like every day, my days start from, I wake up around like 6, so I'm working from 7:15 all the way up into 9 o'clock. So rather that's me working with children or doing sessions, it's never any quiet or any time where it's like silence. So when I get that, oh, I'm jumping on that. Let me think of something else that I do that I like. I like to watch documentaries. That kind of
Ooh,
that
what
it's like
kind?
that's like
Some of
okay.
them could be
I'm
depressing.
Are you doing like Devin? Are you doing like David Attenborough with the animal documentaries,
He has a
or
soothing voice. I give old head his flowers.
right?
Yeah, he got a nice yes. He's good.
any documentary, anything that I can learn from or anything that I think is interesting. So I think I've like not to get all dark, but I like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little
I'm scared.
detective or something. So I like the crime documentaries, or I like how like documentaries like on like religion or just food or brands and like their oh my goodness, I can't talk, the
The
evolution.
evolution, yeah.
Yes, that word.
It's all
Just
good.
different things like that. Or
No,
what
I
else
feel
do I
you.
like?
Because I definitely watch my doctor shows. And Trey would walk in
Mhm.
and I'm just
Oh my
crying. And he
goodness.
was like, why are you watching this if it's making you cry? You know? It is like, personally, it's
I
a
don't
good
get
way
it.
to release feelings because I
Mhm.
might be in
Okay.
situations that I don't cry in. So then now I just watch, TV and I
Mhm.
cry for them.
Wow.
Yeah. And something that I haven't done lately that I need to get back on is running. That was a big outlet for
Oh,
me.
please, because yes, ma'am. Not only is Marley getting her master's, she was also a runner. She's a track star.
Oh
Oh,
Okay?
you what?
Lord.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, at a HBCU. Yes, ma'am. We gotta give her props.
Oh
Oh,
my
okay. You
goodness.
want me to do
Oh.
the 20-second cheering? Or what do we do? I'm just playing.
Right,
No, 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 no.
we pass.
Nobody likes it. Nobody. It's okay.
But yes, that was a big outlet. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the best, but I will say the workouts, and then after I graduated, definitely like running. It was such a peace of mind. Like anytime I was mad or like sad or about something, I'm like, I'm just gonna go on a run. I'm just gonna take off. So that was something that I really like to do. So I want to get back into that.
So with it being self-care, Trey, we're gonna put the mic on you now. Do you
Mhm.
feel like you have any self-care rituals that you have or want to share?
Man, the word ritual is scary to me. But
Oh
Regimens.
God. Regimen.
okay. Thank you. Whew, man. Um, let me see. Well,
Oh.
mine is kind of simple. One of the when I'm not feeling my best, I love listening to my gospel music. So
Mhm.
the if I didn't have gospel in my life, silence probably would be the next resort. I can admit that because even with me, I don't know how people can listen to like that, that real hype, violent music all the time.
Mhm.
Like how? Like how can y'all do that? So my way is just listen to more of a jazzy, a cappella style type music. So that's that. Another thing I like to do, which it used to be, was video games. Now, if I lose a lot, I get upset, so that don't help. Um, but I think just driving, you know, I, I- Key knows this. Driving where it's nothing but road, it's not a lot of turns, not a lot of traffic so it gives me time to listen to, the music, and, in full extent. Podcasts. I love listening to different podcasts, things like that. What else? Um, oh yeah, I love my YouTube. Um,
I think sometimes it's just getting outside too, because you'll be like, oh, I want to go to the mall today, and it's not for like anything specific or anything in particular, but
hmm
our
and
apartment doesn't get the best sunlight, so us being outside and him driving, passenger princess. So,
yeah, well, I do want to say this since you didn't say about me and you are therapeutic. So if I'm
oh,
going
thank you.
somewhere, I would like you to tag along with me, even if it's just Quick Trip or Wendy's. It's literally a 1 minute drive. You want to come with me? And
Mhm.
most of the time, I don't even have to ask. She'd be like, "Why didn't you ask?" But yeah, so it's just certain things.
Period. Right.
Yeah, she'd be ready to. Yeah, but that's one of the few things. Oh, in certain voices. So like hearing my talking to my dad, talking to my grandparents. I don't want to single them out, but the ones in Ohio, because they very spiritually guided. One of the more
Mhm.
spiritually guided people down on. So it just give me it's like a beacon of hope talking with them. So yeah, it's just really between driving, calming music, calming podcasts, and calming spirits from people I enjoy talking to. So I'm a mellow person. So yeah, so that's kind of
Hmm.
my answer.
I like that. I have a question for you two.
Uh-oh.
Since we're on the self-care tip, what are some barriers that gets in the way of you all doing that?
Ooh, that's a
Or
great.
why is it hard sometimes to make sure you get that self-care in?
Mm.
What stops y'all?
I'm gonna go like literal rain. Okay, rain can stop me from doing a lot of things and gloominess, but from a I guess emotional, mental standpoint, I you might need to give me a couple more minutes on that one.
Okay.
That's a great meaty question right there. I like that one. Yeah. So
Right. I feel like I'm taking a test. Like,
that was
I
no,
didn't
that was
study for this
good.
question. Jeez. I definitely agree on the weather aspect though. I will say, Trey went out of town and I was like cleaning while he was gone. So it did rain one of the days I was supposed to like go out and do laundry. And I was like, you know what? I already started cleaning everything else. And I purposely like put my laundry in the way so that I had to do it.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like you
yeah.
put it at the door. So then every time I try to go outside, I have to like move the bags. And it's like, all right, it's easier to just do the laundry
Constant
than, sit
reminder. Yeah.
there. Right. So I try to give myself constant reminders. But honestly, that doesn't work all the time because I work from home. So it's easy for me to ignore things because it's just like I can keep putting them off because I'm prioritizing something else. So when it comes to work, I can prioritize a project um because there's a due date. Me cleaning the bathroom, it doesn't have a due date unless I'm
Hmm.
having like a guest over. And I guess that's the main thing of it is being held accountable for it. Because if no one is on you besides yourself, there's really no reason for you to do it besides yourself. As far as
Hmm.
like the pride that you feel when you clean and cook for yourself and have like healthy meals. So that's what I will say. It's just like prioritizing like work or other people's feelings or just like, doing other things because it's not the most fun when it comes to like my self-care.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. What about you, Trey?
Yeah,
Or
we
you still
back
need
on
some
it.
time?
I think that was more than enough time. I'm a kind of attack myself a little bit. I
Uh-oh.
think it's somewhat of the okay. Let me take it back. Back in the day, way back in '93, right? I was but no, I was a little bit more spoon fed than I guess a typical person I guess was, and a lot of setbacks or things not getting done, whether it's for you know, my mental stability or just stability in general, is kind of like a lot of things got done for me, honestly. So
Hmm.
it takes a little longer for me, just in general. Like I'm gonna get to that later. That's me. That's that's kind of me,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And so me being spoon fed, anything can get in the way because now most of the time it'd be excuses. Like I even be looking back. I don't have no example on hand at this moment, but I remember I caught myself saying I can't do it because of this, and I looked at myself like, wait, what? That was anything to say. Like, how? Why was that getting away with, like, getting away with what I need to get done? So
Hmm.
I think a lot of it kind of boils down to that, just I, that determination or that drive. And I spoke with Key about that, like just me admitting certain things that can, you know, I guess can affect certain things, in
Yeah.
in the domestic home, domestically or whatever the case may be. So I don't know if that was the answer he was looking for, but I
No, I
know,
think that's good.
yeah, I'm a reflective person, and I love to, what's the word? I'm nostalgic, and I like to reminisce. So a lot of times I look at the good things and then sometimes I look at the bad things. Like, okay, why do I think this way? Why my perspective is so strict? Why so, like, why I'm not as open and And I guess looking back and seeing the way I was brought up plays a part in that. So yeah.
Hmm. That's good. I think that's good that you reflect and you reminisce. I think sometimes being able to reflect and reevaluate situations or things from the past kind of gives you more clarity of the present, if that makes sense, or how you react or respond to certain situations or do things a certain way. So I think that's really cool. For me, I would say my barriers for self care, or what makes it hard for me, is mainly prioritizing that time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I growing up, thinking about when I grew up, I'm the baby of four. So
Hmm.
I I wouldn't say I got everything that I wanted, but I got just about most of it, if that makes sense. And then
Yeah.
even going into adulthood and, moving from, I'm from Kentucky, so moving from Kentucky when I was 18 and then kind of living with my dad and growing into adulthood, he's always, and he still is, shout out to my dad, but he's always there. So he was always there to help me. So now, me being an adult, I have to prioritize time. I have to make time to do things. And right now I've been in grind mode because, this is my last semester. I live by myself. I need to pay bills. I got responsibilities, just adulting. So I know that
Mm-hmm.
one thing about life, it continues to keep going. Like,
Yes.
Life is
the
life.
bills are still going to be due. Shoot, stuff is still got to get done. So I know me, I get into like this working mode where it's eat, sleep, work. Sometimes I forget to eat. So I know mainly it's prioritizing time. But I'm so like goal driven and I don't know, I'm a busybody. Like I can't sit still, or I know something always needs to be done, or when I think something doesn't need to be done, it's probably something small, or me forgetting to turn in a file or a document or something like that. So think prioritizing time, and then sometimes just being lazy, just like
Yeah.
not feeling like doing anything. So I'm not gonna watch that documentary, or I'm not gonna. I think I'll like the maintenance, like getting my hair done and nails done. So not making time because I'm just lazy and I don't feel like doing nothing. So yeah.
That's good.
I feel that I'm a person who likes to eat all the time. So, I gotta put in double work at the gym now, but I digress.
I'm not gonna let her do that. You do not do that anymore. Not to me. I know it was a time.
Exactly, not anymore.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. And I guess Marlene, with it, with Trey being obviously a man, how do you
Hmm.
feel like other men in our community seek help, or how do you feel like,
That's a good
they
question.
should or could seek help if they haven't?
I think this is a very interesting topic that we're about to go into. I think it takes a lot of strength for men to want to seek help and act on it. I've I think that it takes a lot of strength. I'll say that because some men are raised differently and raised that you can't show your emotions. Being vulnerable is weak. So I think it takes courage for men, and it takes courage for all genders and everyone. But I think the first step maybe would just be identifying what it is that you need help in, or what areas that you feel like you're lacking in, that you may need more assistance. And simply, if you want to seek help but you don't know how, about the internet, you have all these different resources. You have therapy for Black girls. I really want to say there's a website. I have to get the name and get back with y'all, but it's a website for men for therapy, and you have all these different therapists with their bio that tells them about yourself, which is very important. I'm not going to get too much into it, but when you're looking for a therapist and you're looking for that um, healthcare service, reading their bio and seeing if that aligns with you. Because
What they
just because the
specialize
picture
in.
looks cool and they look all fancy dancy, make sure it aligns with your beliefs. And even if you're not even really, you don't know much about the whole theoretical orientation, so like the theories of like counseling, like the different counseling styles, like just take the time to like Google that. But getting back to asking for help, but just kind of educating yourself, or Googling. You have so many different resources. I think it's just taking that initial step.
Yeah.
And Trey, I'm also gonna ask you as
Oh
well,
no. Oh no. What did I do?
with your friends, with your male friends, how did you bring up the topic of therapy even for yourself going, and then how did it translate, or if it translated into them expressing themselves to say that they would like to try it out?
Well, I mean, well, obviously, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna lie. Podcast. I, I'm gonna be totally honest. The way I shared it, it was very. You know what? I ain't telling nobody. But it wasn't because I was keeping it from them. I think it's so in my family so normalized. I'd be like, yeah, it's not. How can I say it? Like our family's so open about going. You know what I mean? So I didn't
Right.
find it to be a
Taboo topic.
yeah at all, at all. Um, yeah. So I gotta get back to you with that question because I got some things I need to do. I need to share
You
that.
gotta talk to some people.
But if we want to go hypothetic, hypothetically, I feel like if I tell them, they will be obviously more than supportive, and they probably be like, and I quote, "Man, I need to be doing that, man. I gotta get that. I gotta do that, man." I'm playing. So because my friends are these people are my friends for a reason. So yeah, I think it will go very well. Now I'm just going by hypothetics. So did I answer your question? I don't know.
I mean, well, yeah, I will say I asked you because more so to get understanding, to see if you feel like when it comes to a guy seeking help, is it better to hear a suggestion from their guy friends or their girlfriends, or it doesn't matter as long as it's someone that they're familiar with and saying like, hey, I went to therapy and this is how I felt. Have you tried it? Like,
Yeah, I get the question. It just never got there.
yeah,
I do want to say I think that would help a bunch if, for instance, I tell them and even recommend them to this person. Um, I'm so man, I forgot his name, but I'm kind of going on a tangent. I actually was planning on doing therapy again. Um, what like a couple weeks ago,
doing
and
therapy again. Yeah, I love how
going to
we say it. We don't say we're gonna go. We're like, yeah, I'm doing therapy.
well, yeah,
Like we
going to
say it
therapy.
casually, but we not casual about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and but the guy I wanted to, the therapist I had before, I forgot his name. He got a promotion. Like I'm happy for him, but I'm like, man, you was really good, man. And it makes sense for him to get promoted to the supervisor role. But yeah, I honestly think because let's be real, I never experienced or witnessed um a guy telling a guy you should do this. You might see it in the commercials or you know, but that Better Help. This ain't an ad. This ain't an ad at all. But that Better
Right.
Help commercial. Marley, you ever got
Hmm.
that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm about to say I know you got it.
It's
No,
been
but
popping up on TikTok.
Oh goodness,
I
they took
bet.
over every platform.
But with Better Help, they kind of give it it seems funny. Like the dialogue seems funny, but it's just hitting you with reality. Like even sometimes your closest friends don't know how to go about the conversation, so they kind of brush it off and say, one of them was like, yeah, you ever felt like you alone, or like you hate your job, you just don't like where you at. And then the dude responded with that, like he was pouring his heart out. Two men. And the guy responded with, "Hey, dude, I was just gonna ask you. I just want to know if you want me to order a pizza or something." Like, so
Mhm.
and it's funny, right? But it's reality.
Mhm.
It can go that way. It just gets swept under the rug, and that moment right there could have been like revolutionary right there. And now
Mhm.
he's back to square one. Even though they want you to seek a therapist, that's why they say your friends ain't your therapist. Maybe that's the message they're trying to send. I don't know, but
Mhm.
yeah,
I do remember that
I think
commercial.
that's I think that's very interesting that you say that. I don't want to get off topic. I know we're talking about mental health for men, but talking about your friends, like when you have issues, what do you all think? I remember a time where I was feeling down and I was like, okay, I'm going to text one of my friends about how I'm feeling. And they were like, well, I don't really think you're depressed. Like, I don't think you really
mm-hmm.
feel that way. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, dang, how do you, how are you telling me what I feel? And I think that commercial is a prime example of
Yeah,
how people easily dismiss a person's feelings. And I don't even want to get in too deep with like, depression, like the suicide rates and all that. But it's like sometimes if we take the time just to read in between the lines or just be an active listener, like you can kind of, um, I don't know what the word I'm trying to use, but you'll kind of, I don't know, maybe that person would feel more like comfortable
right.
venting or telling you. Because I know I have some friends who are like, well, how come you don't tell me this? Or you were feeling that way. How come you don't say that? But if there's been instances where I've tried to voice how I'm feeling and I felt like I was being dismissed, then that closes the doors with that. And I will not come to you when I am feeling a certain way or come to you to vent. So I think it's very important. People kind of watch how they respond to when people are telling them something. And even if you think that person isn't that depressed or you think they're overreacting, who are you to kind of determine that or decipher that, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
No, I definitely feel you with that one. My last session I had, I was actually talking to my therapist about it, and just asking her like if I was to post something or say something and then like someone else hears it. So like let's say I say something to you, Marlene, and then one of our mutual friends, they hear something that's been going on, and it's like, oh yeah, like, oh, I heard you tell Marlene about it, but you didn't tell me, like, what's going on. I thought we were cool. And it's like, it's not that we aren't cool, but if I brought something to you and you dismissed it, or we never had open communication in that way, or I felt like you didn't care about those type of topics, there was no open environment for me to talk to you
Mm-hmm.
about it. And it's not to offend any of our friends or any platonic relationship that we have. When it comes to our health, we prioritize it ourselves. So we're not going
Mm-hmm.
to openly invite people who don't um, take it who take it lightly. Because if I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you take your own health lightly, you like, yeah, I got this bump on my knee. I was supposed to go to the doctor like 3 years ago. And I'm like, well, girl, I don't want to tell you about, what's going on with me if you can't even get an x-ray. So I definitely feel
Mm-hmm.
you with that retrospect. Like,
I do want to piggyback on what Keith's saying because I be witnessing that. Like, so from what Keith just said, I'm gonna ask you, Marley. Oh no, well, first I gotta answer the dynamic with my friends, right? Was I supposed to do that
Mm-hmm.
first?
Yeah, I would love to
yeah.
hear your perspective on it.
Okay, now you gotta repeat that question.
Okay. So what do you think about, so you watched that Better Help advertisement. So what do you think about friends and how they respond and how they're dismissive? And does that make you closed off to them? Or like how Kiana was saying, she knows that she can't have that open conversation. So it's not that I don't care about you or love you less. It's just I know you're not the person that I'm going to go to. I'm going to go to someone else when I am having those feelings.
Hmm.
Yes, I do remember. So I haven't been around my friends consistently in almost 5 years now because
Well,
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
physically, right?
physically, right? Um, so I don't want to say it was a smaller scale, but I was younger with younger problems that were very preventative and wasn't really life changing. But I do remember certain things. Even I was the guy that was like laughing, I can admit that too. Um, there were
Well,
times
laughing to cope, not just laughing. You gotta say laughing
when
to cope.
this is what I'm saying. I was actually on the other side. I was the guy that was like, about your pizza. I can admit that. You know what
Oh.
I'm saying? Yeah, I'm not going to be, I wasn't like the perfect person. But as far as me being, um, trying to be truthful and opening up, um, man, I wish I can remember. I have bad memory, Marley. If you know about me, I really have bad memory. I don't think it was nothing I can remember. You know what? I wanted to save this for my May episode. Hopefully, I can bring my brothers in, but just a little sneak peek. Me and two of my friends was at a I don't want to say what happened, but we had we dealt with the same traumatic experience. We was all three of us was there. Um, and the joke is where it happened at. With one of my friends. Well, I'm gonna just say it. It's a special episode, man. We got
Yeah, I'm about
Marley.
to
We got
say
Marley in the
it's
building. Come
okay.
on, we gotta. Um,
Because this is something that's happened, so it's not like you can avoid not bringing it up. You can bring it up as much as you want. That's the thing about having adversities in your life and traumas. Like, I'm not saying it's a trauma for you or it was, but
since the host gave me the green light, I'm gonna do it. Okay, So, in 2013, me and two of my friends, well, my brothers, got shot. Each of us, I got hit twice. One of my one brother, the other person got hit twice as well, and one was just once. And the one that got hit once got hit at a very interesting area. So we he could have been having, he could be suffering from PTSD. I don't think he was, but we don't know that. We over here joking about where he got shot at, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I was that guy that was, oh, I'm moving a lot. Okay, I'm sorry. So I was one of the guys that was kind of joking, about where he got shot at and things like that. Um, that's the only thing I could come up with. But with me,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every time I open up, I get a lot of, a lot of participation, if that makes sense. I don't want to come off like
Mm-hmm.
narcissistic.
Our support.
Yeah, support. Thank you. That's,
like
yeah.
people are more responsive to you than other people.
Mm-hmm. Like they're
Yeah.
receptive.
And I think because I've always been an open person, so it's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
it don't catch them off guard. They don't get uncomfortable. It's like, oh, that's Mel. They call me Mel. They don't call me Trey. But they be like, oh, that's Melvin, man. So they used to that. And if anything, I think when it comes to a typical or a common broship, I think me and my friends have one of the most, like, the closest intimate, like, I don't want to make it sound
Dynamics.
weird, but dynamic. We open
Mm-hmm.
up, we cry together, we laugh together, so I think I never, and maybe that's why it was easy for me to go to therapy than others. Having a father that was more than a father to me. He was Superman to me, man. And my mom was great. One thing you can't, man, she loved her kids, man. So
Mm-hmm.
just having that love and support throughout my whole life, and then getting it from my friends, I'm actually blessed, to be honest. From that perspective. But yeah, um, I don't know if I answered the question, but
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think it's also good. I'm going to continue to keep saying this. I like how you're able to reflect and you think about your past and how you acknowledge that you were the guy in the pizza, the are possibly being dismissive or laughing at it. I think that's really good that you acknowledge that too.
Yeah. Thank you. Good question, Key. Or was that? Man, oh no,
That was
that was your.
Marlene's
That
question.
was. I took
That was my
two. I
question?
took 2 hours. No, it was Marley.
Oh,
I
yeah.
took two
We went
hours
to
answering.
sleep and came back.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's funny. Well,
and
host.
that's one thing I will say, yeah. I definitely do appreciate you coming onto the show. We won't keep you too much longer because obviously the idea is we would love to have you back on the show,
Of course.
especially to bring in more insight when you do pick up more clients and have your own practice. You
I do
know what
want
I
to say
mean?
that. We could talk about that, or we could talk about anything, like something that takes you out of work. So
Yeah.
we don't have to do that as well. But whatever you want to talk about, we all game.
Yes, because
Yes.
literally Marlene is the best person to host any event. Like I promise y'all.
I'm so sorry. I didn't.
Decorations,
All right.
enthusiasm.
All right.
Yeah, I know Trey. Trey was literally working like 50 plus hours this week, so
Yeah,
or
we
50
we
hours.
you will be at the next function. I got you for the next function.
Y'all should do a
And
Super Mario
hopefully,
theme.
okay, anyway. So, as I was gonna say, hopefully, obviously, it'll be for your graduation if you plan to do something for that. Obviously, we love to support you, and being as though
Yes.
you were one of the first people I met moving down here, I'm always gonna have love for you in my heart, Marley, because
Love you
yes, you're literally like so special to me, and I always appreciate seeing you and just being around you because you're such a positive person. So.
Okay,
too.
my
Thank
turn.
you. Sorry.
Yeah, Trey. So I like you too.
Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, thank you all for having me. You all have definitely been so supportive over the years. Even for my, what was that, 23rd birthday a couple years ago.
We were
Yes.
just
Y'all
talking about that.
driving
Yeah,
the hour to that house and
this
playing
beautiful
games with
house.
us. So I
Yes. I'm
appreciate
literally
y'all.
like, yes. We're always gonna show out, as long as we're available.
Yes, I appreciate it. And thank y'all for having me. This is very this is interesting, and I like hearing other people's perspectives and stories. I guess that's another reason why I'm in the field that I'm pursuing, just listening to other perspectives and just gaining insight. So I really appreciate this, and I would love to come back. So thank y'all.
Yes, of course. Hopefully next time it's a visual pod.
Yes.
So,
No, we're gonna make that happen.
I,
We
I will say I
yeah.
gotta be more on top of things with that one, but. All right. Of course, obviously, we'll have all the links so that way, if you do want to connect with Marlene personally or over Instagram, email, or even do a session with her, we'll have all the information linked. We'll post about it on our Instagram as well as our YouTube. And yeah, Trey, is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, no. Well, I do want to say thank you for your patience, Marley, because I kept saying we can do this, and I kept, yeah, I was. You see what I mean? I like that. I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm working on it.
Hey
But
man, sometimes life be lifing, so
yeah,
Yes.
I
yeah,
understand.
yes. But I appreciate you being on, and I appreciate Kiana actually wrote notes. I get on her about that. It was this was a beautiful episode to say the least, man. I really enjoyed it. Thank you all both.
You're welcome.
Thank you.